Hello and welcome everyone to today's Association for Manufacturing Excellence webinar titled How an AME Lean Learning Network Consortium Helps Your Company's Lean Journey. Today's presenter is Ryan Meekum, the Director of Consortia for AME. Before coming to AME over a year ago to create lean learning networks around the country, he was the Chief Operating Officer of Power Blanket, a manufacturing company in Salt Lake. Power Blanket was recognized with an AME Excellence Award in 2017, as well as the Utah Manufacturer of the Year Award in 2015 from the Utah Manufacturers Association. Ryan holds a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Public Administration from the University of Utah. Before we start, just a couple of items. You will be in listen-only mode throughout the webinar. You will see that you are muted on your attendee panel on the right side of your screen. If you have questions during the webinar, please type them into the question area in the attendee panel and click submit. We'll review the questions at the end of today's presentation and answer as many as we can. When you log off today, please check your email inbox. In it will be an invitation and link to fill out a short webinar attendee survey. Please take a few minutes to complete the survey today, as your feedback is very important to us to improve future webinars. Ryan has also graciously agreed to provide a PDF of today's presentation. We will be sending that along with a recorded link for a webinar replay to each of you next week. Now, I am pleased to introduce Ryan Meekum. Take it away, Ryan.
Thanks, Darlene, and welcome everybody. Really appreciate you taking a few minutes of your day to learn what we're doing at AME and how it benefits you and your company. So we're going to talk specifically today about how the consortia can help operate or to help you in your company. But first of all, I want to mention a little bit about AME if you're not aware. So what sets AME apart within the lean community is the fact that it is a practitioner-to-practitioner network of over 5,000 professionals. So what I love about this organization, why I came to it in the first place before I came on as a full-time team member at AME, is because I would go to conferences and I would see things, hear things, but they were real, practical people who would experience these problems and could explain them to me, how they did it and the thinking behind it. And that's what sold me on AME. And when I came to my first conference, I've come to every one since then, primarily for that reason, because this is a group of people who love to share the experiences. So as Darlene mentioned, I had an opportunity to come on board full-time with AME, but what a fabulous organization this is. She also mentioned a little bit about me and who I am, but this is just a little of me and my background here. We have really focused in AME about passionately delivering and changing not only the manufacturing world, but every industry, place, people that lean thinking touches. And as I said, this is primarily a practitioner-to-practitioner network, people who really come together. And this is just a few examples here of people coming together to learn and share what is going on. Within the AME structure then, about a year and a half or 2 years ago, we began a new journey, one that had been started or had gone elsewhere, but this journey of Consortia. And the vision behind AME's involvement in Consortia is there is no organization in the United States or Canada that is looking at the entire North American continent and asking themselves what can be done to help companies locally. So there are many things that happen from a lean perspective on a regional basis or on a national basis. There's some things have happened, and in some cases in prior years, other consortia have developed, but they've been very localized, and many times groups will come together, but they often don't last very long because there's no one really on the hook to really keep them going. And so we'll talk about the model that we're using at AME in order to keep the consortia going year after year to provide that sustaining benefit to you and to your company. So I just want to talk for a minute. I happen to be right now in the greater Cincinnati area at a consortium event. So what is a consortium? I'll give you this as an example of what happens here. So I'm standing, as I said, in the greater Cincinnati area, And Sam Matsumoto, who is our facilitator here in the area, has brought together his 17 or 18 companies and put on a two-day conference that is wholly contained within the group here. So yesterday we had more than 60 people attend, and every attendee has an option of choosing 2 or 3 classes at any one given time. But the beauty is that the consortia here is drawing on internal resources. So every one of these sessions is being taught by someone, by a company from within the consortia. And oftentimes it's a topic that they're already teaching inside their class. For example, this morning I attended one on problem solving. And Wayne from Mubia, who was the presenter who was teaching this, this is a class that he teaches internally as his company is a manufacturing company, and really understanding the problem solving, the scientific thinking behind problem solving is key to who they are and to what they do. And so he's taken that session that he does within his company here to present it to other companies within the consortium. So this is just an example of something that is happening around the United States. So in the broader picture then, how does a consortium work? So AME as an organization, we're in the marketplace looking for facilitators within certain metropolitan areas. And the facilitator and I work together to prospect, to contact, and to identify companies who are interested in becoming part of a consortium within their area. I say metro, it doesn't have to be a metro area, but that is primarily where we have found the most success thus far. Then once we've identified and received commitments from 4 to 5 companies initially, then we organize these 4 or 5 companies together to create a program of activities that will benefit them. And these programs can take different shapes and different forms. And I've given just 4 examples here. We often start with benchmark tours. So when we get a group together, one of the things that most are highly interested in is going to each respective member company and looking at what that company is doing and the pearls of wisdom that they can learn from there. And also, we concentrate on the workshops, and these workshops can take all sorts of shapes and sizes. There can be one on policy deployment, for example, or there could be a workshop on the theory of constraints, or another workshop on problem solving, or employee engagement. Whatever the consortia companies deem necessary is what we organize the workshops around. And the way we know that is every 6 months, every company has a representative on the board. The board comes together and makes programming decisions for the next 6 to 12 months. In preparation for that, we always send out a survey to find out, and we always send out a survey to find out what topics are on people's minds. And usually what happens is there's a consensus around a handful of activities that people really want to do. So we pay attention, first of all, to the cluster of activities that people have most in common. But as you can see on this list right here, we also pay attention to the things that people don't have in common. So we're looking for the topics that have a lot of unanimity, but we're also looking for topics where we can formulate special interest groups. And those special interest groups may have a topic that only a subset of the overall group is concerned about. And so those special interest groups then can focus more narrowly on certain topics that others may not necessarily have interest in. And the 4th one is roundtable discussions. And sometimes we'll organize activities from professors or from people from universities or people from other manufacturing and non-manufacturing environments to come in and talk to us in a discussion format about what they're seeing in terms of trends, whether it be the Internet of Things or manufacturing trends, but whatever the case may be, we come together and do that. And then the consortium really plans its own cadence, sometimes 10, 11, 12 times a year, depending on how many special interest groups they have going on and depending on how many larger activities. So I'll just give you another example. This is an example of what we did with our group in Cleveland. This is also an example of a cost event. So most of what a consortium does is pulling from internal resources, but a consortium can also pull external resources. And when a consortium pulls on external resources, typically what happens is they take the total cost of the event and spread out that cost amongst the member companies. But again, it's the companies themselves that determine whether or not they need this. And so here's an example of what we did in Cleveland, and our Cleveland consortia companies determined that what was really important to them, and these were mostly continuous improvement or personnel within their companies, they really wanted a stronger connection with their senior leadership or their executives. And so we created an event focused on people-centric leadership that was really targeted to the senior executives, coupled with their continuous improvement folks. And so they came together. This is an event we put on a couple of months ago in Cleveland, and every one of the companies in that area sent participants to this event. And there, as you can see, we had Pete Fearley there, who spoke to the group about mission-driven focus. We had Brian Wellinghoff from Barry Waymiller and Mark Braun from Cambridge Engineering, all came to present their real-life experiences about what they're doing in the Pro Football Hall of Fame or Barry Waymiller or Cambridge Engineering in the context of reaching out to those senior executives. And so it's not strictly continuous improvement activities we do, but focus on people-centric leadership. This is just one example of another one of those activities that we did. So where do we have existing consortia today? Now, first of all, when you look at this map right here, you'll notice that it has several colors. And if you're not familiar with the AME organization, the AME nationally is divided up into regions. And here we're looking at just the United States, and you can see the regions within the United States, whether it be the Western region, Southwestern region, but those are the different colors. Then you'll also note that there are some red dots on this map. Those, as of today, those are the current AME consortia where we have facilitators operating within those metro areas. And so what are then the potential areas of AME consortia? You can see the country is large, and then we would also include Canada in this. There are many, many, many unserved areas. And we'll talk in a minute about how we could do that or what we can do to help those areas there. But first, let me give you an example of the many companies that we have involved in the consortia around the country. And as you look through this list, you will absolutely find names that you recognize. For example, Costco or Goodyear. But you'll also find many companies that you've never heard of before. And that is truly one of the things I love about consortia. And all of these are not manufacturing companies either. You'll see several healthcare systems in here. For example, the very first one listed is Akron Children's Hospital, one of the world-renowned children's hospitals located in the greater Cleveland area, has joined the Cleveland Consortium so that they can learn how to deliver better services to the children that they serve. And again, you'll find companies here that you've never heard of, and they can be serviced in different ways. So, for example, in our San Francisco group, in that consortium, we have, as in others, we have a wide disparity between the size of organizations that are involved. For example, Genentech is one of the largest companies around, over 9,000 employees. They have a very large campus within the San Francisco area. But within that same consortium group, we have Freetech Plastics. And Freetech Plastics is a plastic molding company that is located across the railroad tracks from Tesla, which is where the old NUMMI plant used to be. And Freetech Plastics has just under 50 employees. And so you have very large organizations, you have very small organizations. You have manufacturing-centric organizations, and you have service-centric organizations. So as you can see, we've really reached out to quite a number of different types of companies and in different realms. And so these are just some examples of what some of those who have participated in consortia say about that. And this, comment from Jim here is, to me, key, because the consortium participation was an enabler. So it is a launching pad. It is a way to learn from other people in a safe environment where you know you're able to come into the group and A, be treated with respect, but B, the other thing that's unique about consortium is it's not designed for everyone. And what I mean by that is within a group, part of the learning process is the ability to lay open your problems and talk openly and honestly about the challenges that you have. And so the pattern that we use is existing members then do have an opportunity to not accept certain new members. If they see them as direct competitors, the existing members are able to not include other companies. And the reason that we do that is so that the companies that are there, they're non-competitive, they have an open environment to be able to share their problems and aren't preoccupied with who else might be seeing there or understanding what their problems are. And so in this way, it's meant to be a different model than we often see in the event model. The event model where a company will focus on a particular topic and everybody is invited to come and learn about that topic. And the consortium model is slightly different in that, yes, we're coming to learn about a topic, but also within specific context of specific companies. And we also take an opportunity to then, as part of that benchmarking process, when we go into a company, we're establishing a benchmark, but then that company who is doing the hosting also has opportunity to establish goals. And so they know that this group of people who become friends, then they know they're going to be back. And so it also leverages that peer pressure opportunity, so they really take those specific steps in order to meet those goals, because they know that their friends are going to be back. They know their friends have seen what they've seen. They know that their friends can see through any kind of veneer. And so the focus is on really meeting the needs of companies. And here's a statement from Bruce about their experience up in Chicago as well. And so that, again, is the notion of what we're trying to do, create a safe environment where companies are willing, able, and feel comfortable about sharing their challenges so that they can work together to help solve those. And so that brings us on to what is often asked about what's the return on investment, since this is a membership model. And the reason we do a membership model, if you remember a few minutes ago, I mentioned that there are many groups around the U.S. and Canada who start up and fade away. In fact, I've lost track of the number of people I've spoken to that at one time had belonged to an informal group. And by an informal group, it usually means that it's just a group of passionate people coming together and sharing ideas. And that is a wonderful system. What will often happen is that the founders of that group will move on. So it's usually 3 to 5 years. Very few of these groups after 3 to 5 years still exist because the founders move on and that passion is not transferred to other people. So companies will drop out and the original enthusiasm people started with have then waned. So we use a membership model. The reason we use a membership model is AME works in conjunction with the facilitator, and that membership fee that goes to a big portion of that is paid to the facilitator. And the reason that we use that model is so that the facilitator is the person on the hook to make this happen over the course of time, because you're investing in a long-term strategy where you're coming together year after year. And by having that facilitator as part of your extended team, then you know that that person is going to be around to help you on this journey. So that facilitator then focuses on these outcomes that are most important to you. And so when, for example, in Salt Lake, when we started our group there, we started with the questions, what is it that matters most to you? What outcomes are you trying to achieve? And we always talk in terms of outcomes. We talk in terms of what it is you want to accomplish so that we as a group of companies can organize ourselves to help meet those outcomes that you're looking for. And employee engagement, for example, is one that every company that I've been involved with has been very top of their list. And so the questions become, how do we measure that? What do we do? How can we organize programs and activities that can help you move the ball from X to Y so you can get closer to that. And so everything is about understanding the outcomes. And again, the reason we do this is when it comes time for the renewal process, the conversation can be very easy if we understand the outcomes that you're trying to get to. Did we move the ball? Did we help your company achieve its objectives and get you closer to those objectives that you are reaching for? That's the whole reason that we exist, is to help you meet your objectives to get your return on investments. And so if you want to talk specifically, I'll just put this up here for a minute, but these are the different different facilitators in different areas that you can talk to about the investment level or what that looks like with your particular group or your particular community. And so again, going back to our practitioner to practitioner model, many people will often say that this is the cheapest quote unquote consulting that they can get, because it's not someone that's not a consultant from out of town. These are your peers, and it's great quote unquote consulting because what you're getting for that investment dollar is you're getting your peers in your area that can help you solve problems over a long period of time. So then, what are some other features of AME Consortium membership? And so when you join as part of an AME Consortia, you get the lowest possible rate for the international conference, which is a big, big deal for many people because the AME International Conference is the largest lean learning conference in the world. So it is a wonderful place to come, rub shoulders with those who are as passionate about this topic as you are. It also comes with a free admission to a region event per year, a subscription to targets, and so these other features that you can see here on this list are other things that come with your AME Consortium membership. And so now I just want to highlight on a couple of other in the broader scale within the AME environment that can really help you along your journey. So one of them, one of the newest, is network.ame.org, which is something when I first joined AME, this was one of the key things I was looking for. I wanted to know who in my area that I could coordinate with, who I could reach out to, who are the other members, and through this network, you can reach out and touch people within certain groups, within people who are geographically located to you. So this is now, as of earlier this year, we officially launched network.ame.org so that our members can connect with one another and help with their specific problems. So I find this very valuable. Another tool in the broader AME scheme of things that is immensely valuable is the Lean Sensei. And if you're familiar with AME, you may have come across this before, but I love these questions. Do you think you're lean, and how do you really rank? And so Lean Sensei comes in both an app form, but it also comes in a spreadsheet form. And as COO of Power Blanket, I found this is an extremely helpful tool on our lean journey. And it's also a tool used within the consortium environment because it provides a framework, if you will, that you can all talk about using the same language, using the same references. And the way that it's designed is that you have an opportunity to give that tool to your team, and you can self-evaluate. And so it has some very specific questions, and within those questions, you can grade yourself on a scale of A to F. And when I first rolled this out to my team, for example, we broke, there's 60 different questions, and we broke that up according to the team that was most applicable for that question. And so each team then would rate themselves, would give themselves a grade. And once we had rated ourselves on that grade, we would take the average of everybody's input, and with that input then we would create action plans. First we would do a deep dive to understand what are the root causes of some of those problems that we identified in the self-evaluation. Then we created an action plan to work on those problems. And then based on that, we always set a goal. So usually it was within 1 quarter, we wanted to raise our score from, say, a C to a B, or from a B to an A. And within the consortium environment, then, you then have the opportunity to take that on a company-to-company basis, where some consortia are actively working on creating assessments from one group of companies to another group of companies. And of course, this is all voluntary, it's all those who want to participate in this. There's no mandatory that you participate, but it provides an environment where you can not only self-rate, but you can get another party to come in and really take a look at your systems. And so that's another reason the Consortia really works out well, and this Lean Sensei then comes into the environment of the Consortia. Now, the other wonderful thing is Lean Sensei then puts you on a road to applying for the AME Excellence Award. And as we mentioned up front, my company, Power Blanket, in 2017 was recognized with this, and it was just a huge for us validation of the journey that we had been through. It really had opened the eyes of our team members. The engagement across the company was way up because people really saw themselves as problem solvers and how they could come to work, solve the problems that they came across, build an environment that allowed that problem solving to happen, and come away each day fulfilled. And that's a great process of this recognition system, is so that you can go down this lean journey, really understand how you can benefit your team members and what this means for them, and then be recognized for doing so. So for those of you who are contemplating going down the AME Excellence Award path, I highly encourage you to do that. It was very eye-opening and life-changing to our team members, and I have no doubt it will do exactly the same for your team members. So again, Lean Sensei and the Excellence Award work hand in glove, and then that works also within the Consortia system. I mentioned this earlier, but if you have not made plans, please do make plans for the conference. It's going to be in San Diego this year, coming up at the end of October. And as I mentioned, the largest Lean conference in the world. It was my first introduction to AME was one of these conferences, and it is what really hooked me to the organization, because it's passionate, it's practitioner, and it's practical. So I just loved it and have never looked back. And we mentioned a couple of these earlier, but again, these are just some other things going on in the larger environment of AME that you receive. Target Magazine, one of my favorite reads when it comes out each quarter, really is packed with case studies, examples. It opens up companies, it opens up vistas that I haven't seen until I read them on those pages, and it always spurs me on to additional thought about what I could do or what I could change in order to get better. So that is a quarterly publication, hands down rated one of the most important features of membership that many have. And there's a few last items that I'm going to mention about the AME environment, and then we're going to turn the time over for questions. If you're not familiar with the AME region system, this is how we've divided up North America between these different states and provinces within Canada, so that it gives people an opportunity to collectively work together. And again, this is more of the event model. So the volunteers within these regions then come together and create events, which give you a closer opportunity than just the international conference to experience more about what lean leaders are thinking and doing in different parts of the country. And we also do this internationally. We've got groups and affiliates in Australia and the United Kingdom. Champions Club, I want to mention this as well. Champions Club is designed for those of your senior leadership or your top CI leaders who really have an opportunity to come together in club events. They meet together 3 times a year. I have attended some of those. They are fun because it is usually the same group of people. It's a relatively intimate group. There's usually 40 to 50 people, members, and then many of them will bring their spouses and significant others to these events. And what fun they are, because we're able to see some of the best examples of lean and leadership around the country. And Burgess Oliver, who is the one who organizes that, does a great job in bringing people together. So we work together in the sense that by joining through a consortium membership, you also have a discount to join the Champions Club. Another thing to point out on people-centric leadership is, if you remember the event we talked about in Cleveland, all of that was driven around the concept of people-centric leadership, which is truly one of the most important things through this lean journey. Many have commented in the past about why so many companies start down a lean path, but then abandon that path at some point. And I ascribe that, and many others ascribe that to the heart and the head, that many people out there are looking at this as a series of tools, and it's not. That only engages the head, and it will only engage people for so long. If you do that without the heart, if you do that without the people-centric leadership part of it, you will see that these problems never go away. But on the other hand, if you tackle what scientists say, the stress and the toll that it takes on people in order with their work lives so difficult and so stressful, they would realize that lean is actually a recipe to solve the workplace stress, because it empowers people to solve the problems they come up against. And so you cannot go through a tool base and have long-term success. It requires the head and the heart. And that's what people-centric leadership is all about. So that people understand really, truly, honestly, this is about people. This is about respect. And those are not just words. And so that's what this people-centric leadership focus is all about. Webinars, those of you who are on here, again, of course, know about webinars, but this is, again, part of the AME environment, a way that we are reaching out to our members and to others to learn about the lean journey. All right, and with that, lean certification, I don't want to forget that. Lean certification has to really focus on people who want to become certified at a bronze, a silver, or a gold level. And AME works in conjunction with Shingo and works with others in order to put on this program. And of course, we can tailor packages to meet your needs. So I've mentioned many things that happen within AME, and some members choose different pieces of this, but we can certainly put together a package tailored to your specific needs. And this is our contact information here. And now, with that, we'll go to questions. And so, Darlene, if you'll take over as moderator for this question part, we'll be happy to answer anything that's on your mind.
Thank you, Ryan. If anyone does have questions, please submit them on the right side of your screen. And we do have a question here, Ryan. Where else does AME plan to expand Consortia?
Excellent question. And in the grand scheme of things, there is no location that conceivably we couldn't put one together. Every market we've gone into, we found a latent need and desire for people to join within these groups. And so the key to that is then the facilitator. And so if you desire to pursue this, then I would work with you to help identify a facilitator in your area. And this could take different forms. This facilitation is usually a part-time activity, and the way that we structure it is we structure it as a part-time model where the person has a contract with AME, and we're working with this person. And so some of these can be retirees, or sometimes we come across cases like Rick Wiltsey up in Cleveland, where he is a full-time team member of his company, but his company works with him, he is flexible with him, so he has enough time to devote to organizing the consortium because they see it as in their best interest. So that's all we need. That's the recipe we need in order to create one of these. And so anywhere where we can get that combination of activities, then we will go to that market, and we have never found a market where there has not been a great deal of interest in organizing one of these. So I think that we can go to just about anywhere that you can point me towards.
Okay, here's another question. I noticed my city wasn't on the map. How can I get one started?
Yeah, so I think those questions go hand in glove. And if you would like to start one, step number one would be to reach out to me, and then I will help, and we'll work together, see if we can identify a facilitator, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, and I think this is the last question. Why have different companies joined the consortia? What's in it for a big company, small company, or non-manufacturing company?
Yeah, another great question. I think that many people join because they see the advantage of the mutual working together so that people can hold themselves accountable. And it works in both big and small companies, because small companies, you can really get engaged, and it's very easy to get a large percentage to reach out to everybody. Larger companies tend to have specialized continuous improvement folks, but this gives their continuous improvement folks the energy and the ability to really feed off of what they see elsewhere so they can bring it back to their company. So it's all about learning, sharing, so that we can grow together. So that's how I would answer that one.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. We will be sending a recorded link for a webinar replay to each of you next week. This brings our webinar to a close. Our next scheduled webinar will be on Thursday, September 6th, titled Industrial Enterprise Blockchain, Why It Will Become a Fundamental Layer to Manufacturing and Distribution, with Mark Travis. Please visit ame.org under the AME Events and Training tab to click on the AME Webinars for more information and to register. Please don't forget to fill out the short survey that will be in your inbox. Thank you to Ryan and everyone for attending, and have a great day.